She's not Lincoln. She's yeah.
208.
As long as you put me on.
Only for that one.
Put your second. Put your second. We do second. Do that?
Yeah.
All right. All right. We could all rise, please,
Yeah, I don't think she's there.
for the salute. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, workshop, our first up on our agenda is not here, so we're gonna bypass them. And
You are up. Well, they're not here yet, so.
so Dave, you're in, Natalie's out.
All right. Hope to the right.
All right, so let's just, we'll just take the next one, which is 123, 125. 3:30?
Yep.
Oh, 3:30. Did I jump over
Roll
that?
call.
3:30.
It's 2:30.
There it is.
Roll call.
It's a workshop. I mean,
Oh, you don't need the roll
you
call?
don't- you don't-
Okay.
I'll do roll call for our thing, but we didn't need a motion. I should have said that, so I'll just do a roll call.
Okay.
But we don't need a motion to open the meeting.
It's still a meeting, but that's okay.
I can do it. When I did do it, they tell me I didn't need it. I don't do it, and they'll say, you really should.
Damned if you do and damned if you don't, right?
Okay, let's just do that. So, does somebody want to make a motion to open the meeting?
I'll make that motion to open the meeting.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Did you get those? Okay. And then we'll just do a what's that? Yeah, Paul seconded.
Yeah.
All right, so, hang on one second. All right, so we want to do a quick roll call just for the audio. I do that no matter what. So, for attendance, so Member Allen is absent. Member Boucher, present. Member Hefnecker?
Present.
Member Iannucci?
Present.
Member Carlich?
Present.
Member Kelly?
Present.
Member Umberto?
Present.
And our professionals that are here, Attorney Cassidy,
Present.
Engineer Higgins,
Present.
Engineer Barber, and that's it. Okay. All right, so first up on our agenda is 123, 125. 3:30, I did that again. It's right in front of me. It's right in front of me. I don't know. How are you, David?
David Monto, the architect for the project. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening. So we had made a lot of progress with the project. As you can see, we revised the plan quite a bit by adding a playground adjacent to the building and attached to it, which eliminated pedestrian and vehicular traffic between those children that would be in the daycare and any other traffic that would be in the area. We extended the parking area and the turnaround to the north of the building so that it can house enough parking for potential parents that may stop by or employees. We were able to do the turnaround in the correct fashion, so everybody should be happy with that. We did get building department interpretations of some of the comments. So it appears that the loading area zone that we have for the furniture store is a pre-existing non-conforming condition. And then the floodplain comments would be addressed during the building department submission for a floodplain permit. Did remember Umberto's comments regarding the floodplain elevation? So as you can see, we noted it on, well, not that one, but the other one. We noted the floodplain elevation and raised the window sills about a foot above it, so that to protect the building, protect the area. You received the traffic study. I do believe it was passed on to Kinley Horn, but I'm not sure if it was done so in a formal way. Was Kinley Horn retained?
They're in the process of being retained. I did speak to John Canning this afternoon, so he did take he hasn't written anything up yet, but he has started to his review, so we expect his comment shortly.
Great. And then I thank the board for at least entertaining. We did do a quick color rendering to start to propose something to the board for your review. It's basically painting of the soffits and fascias, along with new siding on the playground side and on the Route 17M side. We started doing actually real life depictions the pictures, but we couldn't amend, adding the windows in yet, but I can pass this around to.
Okay, they just sent it a little while ago.
Can I go ahead and pass this around?
Sure.
Okay.
What's it labeled?
Umberto?
What's it labeled?
I just did it when I was sitting here,
Add this to it.
Stage Road
You
rendering.
want to start down here and move across?
Whatever's easier.
What's it labeled?
So,
You look at it, should say what.
on the
it
next
is.
rendering that's coming around, we did pick out colors, associated with it. That's,
13 minutes, right?
existing. So, it's progressed quite a bit, and we're hoping that the board can see that we're clear to publish that setting a public hearing for the project.
So Dave, you have comments?
I do. We go through them one at a time, if you like, or
Yeah.
high points, one at a time, okay. Number one, the land use determination indicates that the proposed daycare use is permitted in the GB district and is subject to a special use permit following section 200-58. Daycare minimum lot size is 20,000 square feet, and the retail minimum lot size is also 20,000 square feet, meaning the combined minimum lot area is 40,000 square feet. The existing lot is 45,398 square feet and is compliant. The applicant is proposing to combine the two lots to create a single parcel with an area of 6.09 acres. So that's just an informational comment. Number two is also informational. As noted in the MHE letter dated January 8, 2025, and the memo from Building Inspector Cox dated January 9, 2025, the applicant no longer wishes to have the barriers installed in the floodplain, and there is no proposed grade changes within the floodplain. The applicant is proposing to flood-proof the building and install fencing around the playground area, which will require a flood permit, but will be handled with the building department under the permitting process. Number three, a report has been provided by Creighton Manning, which discusses trip generation, parking, and potential impacts. It is understood that the evaluation has been provided to Kimley Horn, the village's traffic consultant, for review and comment. Number four, several of the parking spaces shown on the plans have slopes which approach 8%. It is noted that parking in slopes of in excess of 5% may pose difficulties in opening vehicle doors and accidentally allowing the vehicle doors to swing open, potentially striking an adjacent vehicle. Design professional should address. Number five, project proposes the consolidation of tax lots 213-1-30, 213-1-32.1, and 213-1-51 into a single lot. Consolidation of the lots shall be a condition of any site plan approval to be issued by the planning board. Number six, per section 200-44J, parking lots and loading spaces shall be screened visually from adjoining properties. The screening plan shall be approved by the planning board. Number seven, per section 200-45J, parking lots shall devote 10% of the total required parking area to landscaping, which shall meet the provisions of section 200-32, trees and landscaping. Number eight, a landscaping plan has been provided consisting of 24 boxwood shrubs, 10 white cedar trees, and 6 dogwood trees. Planning board should review the plan for adequacy. Number nine, wall-mounted light fixtures are shown only on the north side of the building. Lighting should be provided on other sides of the building to provide adequate illumination for entrances and pedestrian access. Number 10, submission cover letter indicates that proposed signage will be provided with the next submission. Number 11, this application has been referred to the Orange County Department of Planning for a review under GML 239 based on its proximity to the Orange County Heritage Trail. Number 12, project is subject to Architectural Review Board, review and approval. Number 13, the submitted EAF form indicates the presence of potential endangered species habitat, northern long-eared bat, as well as archaeological sites. A letter dated October 16, 2024 was received from New York State Parks, Recreation and Historic Preservation, indicating that in their opinion, no properties including archaeological and/or historic resources listed in or eligible for the New York State and National Register of Historic Places will be impacted by the project. The letter states that it does not address potential environmental impacts. It appears that all site improvements are located in existing paved or gravel areas. And number 14, a public hearing will be required in accordance with section 200-72E4.
Okay. So Dave, will you take a look at those parking spots too, the one on the 8% slope?
Yeah, that's in the existing area. It's existing. So the new ones do not encroach on that.
Well, it's existing, but it's a different use, right? You,
True, but it would require quite a bit of grading on that to bring it down from 8% to 5%.
where's that?
Do you know how many parking spaces are affected by that?
Could we, would it be possible to get the site, C2?
There we go.
It's along the north side of the project.
Okay, so on the condo side.
Yes. So there's about 16 spaces along there. I believe about 8 of them maybe are subject to that 8% slope, and then the rest of it slopes are graded away.
I mean, is there any way to relocate that parking?
Well, can we go to the next one? Please?
Yeah, I think it's the one after this, I think.
Yeah,
Next one.
even though I like the colors on that one.
Yeah.
So it just, by relocating them, we're extending more and more of the area that's impacting the ground. So, I mean, the first inclination would be not to do so. Why disturb more area of the site when it's really not needed?
You want to use your pointer if you need it?
You know,
If you need it.
you want to know the sad thing? I walk one.
You forgot it.
I walk one. It's sitting right on the left side.
It's not helping you.
Right over here. So this area right here starts to slope around that 8% and then it grades off gradually. I mean, if we were to relocate these further down, it would just start to impact more and more of the property. And there's really no need to. You know, quite honestly, a lot of this parking, we don't even anticipate being used. We're not anticipating the parents to be there in such over an extended stay. I mean, it's really more for employees. I mean, this would probably even satisfy the employee count. So it's these parking spaces right here that we're really talking about.
Yeah. See, the problem for us too, it's not just because the user is going to bus it, right? But, you know, the use is what we're really looking more at than the user. I know you're saying they're busing, but if somebody else comes in, that goes out, somebody else comes in to do a daycare, and now they've got that problem.
Well, they would have to amend the site plan accordingly. I mean, they would have to come back to you.
Well, you wouldn't have to because if it's an existing use, you don't have to come back.
But if their use or travel distance or their travel generation is different than what we're proposing, that would create a difference between this project and the subsequent project.
Why don't you change them into parallel parking there? That solves your problem. You may lose a couple of spots, but you can still have a couple more spots.
You'd lose quite a bit.
Would that be agreeable? I mean,
If they were to change it to parallel parking,
but I think
because then
you'd
an
lose-
emergency break will
I think
take
you'd
care of that
lose
problem.
more than a couple of spots. Dave would be better on that one if you got
Yeah, I
a
mean,
calculation.
Take a look at
You
like this
lose
on
half the spots.
So that's not our problem, really.
This is, I think it's this area here. You're looking at the contours.
It's not really our problem.
I know.
yes.
This project, anyway.
I know. No.
These are 1 footers, I believe, right? Remember?
You ain't gonna flood proof the building.
Oh.
The thing's gonna
Hard to read on the sheet.
the creek is gonna flood.
Mm-hmm. Happens all the time.
And also, again, don't forget that area is already paved.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to it exists.
They're 1 footers.
They're 1 footers, so on the sheet,
Right.
yeah. So basically, anywhere in this whole region here, Dave,
Yeah.
basically from here on out.
You know, we're not disputing that.
Mhm.
It exists.
Maybe
So
you-
much about it.
And the other thing you might be able to do is just space them out a little bit wider, so that if the door happens to swing open, you're not hitting the car next to you.
You know what we're doing in another municipality? We're introducing a double line between each parking space.
And increase this,
Yeah.
the space between the, you
Yeah,
might lose
that-
some parking, but, again, if the door swings open, you're not.
How are we gonna parking, Kim? I mean, we have flexibility in the code, but I wanna make sure that,
Well, that's part of the traffic study that was submitted, and,
Okay.
I mean,
so we'll need, I would recommend we get John's comments on trip travel and all of that before we send them down that rabbit hole and then find out we need as many spaces as we can get. So I don't wanna solve one problem and create another.
exactly, yeah, no, I know that they went through the numbers there, and certainly, I think, you'd wanna have as much parking as you're going to need. But
Can I make a dumb suggestion? If that is theoretically one way and there's a loop, why not make them angled?
in this direction.
Yeah, and then that way, and then you're going with the contour. And you could do the same thing that way on that side. Does that make sense?
Well, I think you still have the same,
Okay.
you do have the same issue, that you're parking on the slope, and you're still gonna have to swing the door.
Okay.
In one direction, you're swinging the door open downhill, the other way you're swinging it up.
Uphill, yeah.
But I think if you were to increase a little bit the spacing in between,
And do a double line stripe.
Yeah.
I mean,
Between them. I like the double line stripe.
yeah. I mean, I should point out, I don't believe there's a code, there's no
No.
strict code in terms of 5%, but it's a practical matter.
Mhm.
Generally, anything over 5%, you start to worry about it being difficult to either open the door in one direction or it swings open uncontrollably in the other.
Right.
And I think I had calculated you were looking at about 8% up that slope.
Oh, no, we agree.
Yeah.
I mean, we realize that. No question about it. But if the board, that's agreeable with the board, I mean, I would increase the space between them, double stripe it, give it a little room for the doors to open, we go with that.
I think that would be a better scenario. You guys think so?
I agree.
Marilyn, yeah?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be good, Dave. The playground, are you guys putting equipment on the playground? Is there, like, sliding boards, seesaws, type of stuff?
You know what, I'm not sure, and I hesitate for two reasons. One is, I didn't discuss it with the owner. Two is, there's regulations from the state on what the age groups and the apparatus they're allowed
Right,
to
to use.
interact with. So, we went through that all with Luke and Friends. So I'm gonna hesitate on answering that, because a lot of the children here are under 2. And I'm not sure if they are quote unquote allowed to play on apparatus or equipment. So I'll have to research that.
What's the oldest age, like 3?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's gradations. I mean, the smallest was below 1, the greatest was between 1 and 2, and the next lowest was between 2 and 3,
Okay.
2 and 4. So I can take a look at that.
Yeah, just to see.
So how many kids would, on average, will there be throughout the daytime? And is there a set number that they're gonna have from time to time, or?
You know what, that's a good question, Paul, because, I mean, this is gonna start out, so it's going to increase in number. At the full, expansion of
Occupancy?
the facility, it full about 130.
Okay.
And that's why we supplied the floor plan of the building or of this area, because each each child has to have a certain amount of area, square footage in the building allocated to them, plus the employee or plus the caretaker. So if you notice on the floor plan, each room had an area or a square footage associated with it, and that was purposeful. And so it did come out to about 130, plus or minus.
And for the most part, the drop off and the pickups for everybody are around the same time, right? I know, but that was the biggest, our discussion was same time coming in, same time coming out. Yeah.
9 to 9:30
Yeah.
and 3:30 to 4.
I guess our traffic
Also-
study. but look at
When they do the, I'm just curious, the square footage based on the kid, does that include furniture that's in the room? Like,
Yeah,
so you can put, they don't use that. They just use square footage of the room. But if you're putting furniture in, does that reduce the number?
no,
So
because
does-
it's part and parcel of the calculation, but they're obviously, it's gonna be a New York State regulated daycare, so.
Right.
It would be.
They'll
subject to
look, right.
inspection,
I was
so
just curious more than anything else.
They have, their license number is going to reflect, they can have,
Right,
you
X
know,
number.
they can have 10 infants, they can have 18 toddlers, they
Right.
can have,
Mhm.
you know, and it's gonna be regulated that way. And that's gonna dictate the amount of furniture, you know, if you can have 10 infants at once, you get 10 cribs, you know.
Yeah, yep.
Also, I believe we received Orange County Planning's comments.
239, yep.
They seem to be favorable.
County review came today.
They acknowledged that busing would be appropriate and agreeable for the traffic flow, and everything else was a local determination. I wanted to address number 9 with the lighting. What we did was purposeful. I mean, we did light the north side of the building because of the travel, the vehicular travel along the road and the parking and the drop-off. I didn't really light the west side, that playground side, because at night it's not going to be used. And the Route 17M side, there is no pedestrian traffic. So we didn't put any building mounted lights on that side. So what we did was intentional. So I want to know if, you know, if this comment stands or not. I mean, on the playground side, we could add 2 doors, we could add a light at the door.
For vandals, burglary, just for protection.
And plus,
It makes it-
you'll have employees there after 4 during the winter, so you'll need that, right?
And that's the west, you know, where
West
the,
side, yeah. So I don't see the need to add anything on the south side.
well, you got all those they're all parking spots there, right?
No, the south side over here.
There you go.
There's a street light, I think, up by the intersection too, David, I believe, right?
Yeah,
I
over
think
here,
so.
right here. That provides a lot of light.
Yeah, and I think you had a note on the plan that the numbers you had on there didn't reflect the street light, correct?
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah, I think I was more concerned about the playground side.
Yeah, so we can add a few building mounted lights here. You know, we reflect that, which will, no doubt, the photometric will end up coming around to here. And that's fine.
Are you gonna close off the sidewalk that's coming, the stairs there on that, up in the, yeah, there's stairs there. You're gonna be closing those off? Because if they're not lit, that's that's kind of dangerous.
That's a good question. I don't know. Let me talk to the owner about it. There, as far as we're concerned, there's no need to access that side of the building, especially since we removed the doors that were here, you know, leading to the basement. If you go to the elevation, you saw that.
Yeah.
So my initial reaction to that would be block off the stairs. because
Right.
there's no need.
As long as they, you know, as long as they can't be accessed, then,
Sure.
Remove the stairs totally.
yeah.
But if the stairs are there, they have to be lit.
If the stairs are there, they have to be lit, okay.
The stairs exist. they
Even
need
if
to be
they're
lit.
blocked, because there are some determined people out there.
And other than that, we met the 10% of landscaped area for parking. We screened the loading spaces along the north side, with trees, with landscaping. So I think the project's in good shape. And you have the renderings, we welcome your comments on that. Again, the owner's going to install new siding on the south and the west. In other words, the playground side and the Route 17M side. And then we're gonna paint the soffits and fascias all the way around the building, which is shown on, you pass that along on the renderings. I would imagine we'll get Kinley 1 or, Kinley 1's report or comments in a few days or a week or so. So we would hope the board would see that we're clear, at least to think about setting the public hearing, get the public's comments, and then we'll move along.
I'm okay with that.
Well, again, just one more question. I guess it's multiple pieces. You know, I've been concerned about the flooding in this area.
Yes.
The green dam that's there now along the creek, the beginning of the Ramapo River. But what I'm worried about is, does that really work? We're supposed to get a study and a sealed study from a qualified engineer for that. And secondly, if it does work, you know, in other words, the water's not going to seep through, it's not going to go into the land as it has been doing for the last couple hundred years, okay? What's going to happen to the land downstream? Being there's no let out, Dave, of that water and the pressure through the land itself into the old racetrack area, etc. How's that water going to affect downstream? The next project that you're talking about, of course, is the Ramapo Business Center. And then beyond that, what is that going to do? I'm looking a bunch of ways, but excuse me for that. Like I said, I had multiple questions. And it goes around the cemetery. That cemetery is going to flood.
Dave, just want to make sure that we're on the same page.
Go ahead.
You're not doing any grading, filling within the floodplain, correct?
Floodway.
Right,
No.
or in the
nothing.
floodplain either, I believe.
No,
right?
not in the floodplain either.
Right, so the only thing that you're doing in the floodplain is the fence,
Correct.
correct? Okay, so
And the parking, and the turnaround.
right, and sealing up where the windows are
Correct.
to make sure that they're, you know, waterproof to the satisfaction of the building department, right? So there's no, you're not, I thought you were referring to the prior plan where they had barriers that were being installed to basically prevent the water from getting to the building.
But there's barriers, the green barriers are there now.
You're removing those?
The owner wants to remove that, we had that in the last submission.
Yeah, they're in
So
the
they-
field today, is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
Yes.
what it looks like today.
Okay, and they're removing those?
They're removing.
Okay. Right, I knew they were proposed on the plan, I didn't know they were there.
Yeah, I thought they were still on the plan itself. You better take a look at that. I believe they were on the plan also. Worried about, one, diverting the water. Two, if they're not there,
So Dave, did you
that
guys
whole,
install
that whole
those
playground's
originally,
gonna be
the
full
green
of
ones?
water.
The owner did, yes.
And that was the precursor to the last one where somebody was gonna come out there and turn it on and stuff if it was gonna rain?
They were
They were gonna place them out there?
they get placed. It's like barricades.
So that's part of that system?
Yes.
Okay.
But that was basically, you were putting those up on the plan, and I guess you put them in the field as well, but that was to prevent the water from even getting to the building.
Correct.
And the plan now is to actually just waterproof any portions of the building that are within the floodplain.
In a floodway. If you go to the color chart,
David, I certainly remember your opening comment that the windows are 1 foot above the 100-year
floodplain.
floodplain mean water level. But can a building
So,
really?
well, the pink area there is the 100-year floodplain, correct?
This is the floodway.
I don't think that's,
And the
That's the
floodplain comes like this.
You see, I
Floodway
that
is
water
here.
that's
taps
what
the
I
building.
thought, yeah.
Here's the floodplain.
Hold on.
This blue line.
Here, Dave.
The 100-year flood area is shown in pink here. That's the 100-year flood area. Floodway is,
The floodway's over here.
here, it's on the green area.
Here's the floodway.
Correct. But the floodplain is what goes up to the building, not the floodway. Correct.
On this side, and the floodplain, this is the floodplain, this blue line.
We just want to be clear, because I think we're using floodway and floodplain interchangeably.
So,
You can't fill within the floodway period.
correct, yeah, we're
Okay.
not touching
The
it.
floodplain is what you would need a permit for any disturbance, any fill within.
A building permit in the floodplain.
Flood permit.
Correct, yes. And that's, right now, that's limited to the fence around the playground area and your waterproofing of the windows at the building.
Correct,
And that's to be dealt with during the building permit process.
correct.
But before, you had barriers shown here, basically preventing water from getting to the walkway, which was between the floodplain, the floodway, and the building.
Correct.
But you're gonna be taking those down.
Yes. I believe we stated in our cover letter last time, the owner wants to take them down.
Is for aesthetics, you think, or just because he doesn't think they're necessary? How do you stress it?
Yeah,
But it's already there.
buildings were there. Technically, the only thing, now what's the fence, you have the fence, what is the fence made of?
We show detail, just a wire mesh fence.
So the water
We
can pass
wanted
through
to
it?
screen, we wanted to screen the Route 17M side. Well, that side we show green slats going through the fencing, but we left the other two sides open because I'm almost sure the state's gonna want that you have to have no impact or no impairment on visual, sight distance with the building.
I mean, the only impact that I would see from that on the floodplain would be that, A, the building right now is susceptible to flooding. And
Yes.
you're remedying that, right?
Yes,
And two, you're creating the fence there, which again will allow water to pass through it, provided there's no debris that gets caught in the fence. So the only thing is you'll have to maintain that, and if there's branches and leaves and things that get clogged up in there, you just gotta keep those clear.
correct,
But other than that, the water should be able to pass right through.
correct.
And what's the distinction between the floodplain and the floodway?
So the floodway, I believe, is where once in 100 years, you'll have a flood elevation of, I think where there's a certain velocity that goes through that too, I don't remember. There's this, go ahead if you know, go ahead. I forget what it is exactly.
Floodway is, so to
He's
speak,
the expert.
and I took over Leonard, he dealt with this stuff all the time.
We worked together on the project you mentioned, so.
Yes, the floodway is where, so to speak, like the river of the flood, right, when it actually flows, you got the river, the water flowing through, you're not allowed to touch that.
Correct.
Unless you do certain analyses and all that, but for practical purposes, you're not allowed to touch that. The floodplain is, so to speak, the spillover area of where the water can go up to. So,
That you can build in,
you
can
can build
touch,
in it per FEMA.
can
has to
disturb,
be-
yeah.
You can disturb it, municipalities such as this one might have their own, you know,
Codes.
ordinance on that, but you are allowed to build in it.
So why is that, so obviously the flood,
No, the floodway
Is the blue
not-
stream.
This is the floodway. here.
right, because that's where the stream is, right? Now the blue to the right of your finger now, that's floodway as well? Or just have to be the same color?
Is that the 500?
It has to, no, I think that is the floodway. I think it has to do with the depth and the velocity of the
Okay.
flow. I forget exactly what the numbers are. It might be a foot deep with a velocity of.
Gotcha. So basically, it can get really wet there. Right, I mean,
But
that's-
basically, it's where you would say is probably, like you said,
Unbuildable.
the river, the creek,
Yeah.
et
It's
cetera.
not a
The other
velocity
areas
issue.
are generally less than a foot deep and not flowing
Moving well,
rapidly.
gotcha.
Yes.
Yeah.
And actually, as we know, you can't impact the floodway.
Right.
You move it, if you impact, it can only increase the elevation by a very small amount.
Okay.
Which you're nowhere near anyway, so it's.
So Dave, are all your points satisfied? What's left open?
Well, I think just, mainly the traffic review is I
Right.
think is the main element.
Right.
Landscaping, the board just needs to review and
Right,
see if
we
it's
have to look at
adequate. I think lighting, we talked about, they're gonna add some more lights on that one side of the building. We talked about the parking spaces that were in excess of 5%. David's gonna make some modifications to those to increase the spacing between them. Signage, you said would be provided in future submission. Architectural review is up to the board. We got the letter from the County Department of Planning, I think saying it was a local determination. That was just came in today, I believe. And then public hearings.
Okay. So the big thing, David, is if, you know, if Kimley Horn reviews it and it's not ready at the time, you know, what would the, what is it, 25th it would be, are we saying? For the public
I
hearing?
think that's what I had it calculated to be.
You'd have to send notices tomorrow.
Wait, we're not, no, because we haven't even declared lead agency.
We haven't talked
Oh,
about
okay,
it.
that was the other project.
So we recirculated we recirculated
Gotcha.
the lead agency. That was started, that circulation happened on.
Yeah, I was thinking of the other one too,
Yeah,
Dave.
if you're switching projects.
Yep.
That was circulated on the 28th. So I would, obviously, because we miss it by a couple of days because of the timing. So then, assuming David makes a submission in March, makes a submission in time for March, excuse me, that would be architectural, you know, the architectural stuff, the stuff we talked about
Right,
today.
all that, yep.
We could then
Landscape.
assume lead agency, set the public hearing, and that would be for the April meeting.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I.
I think that's the right timing. I was thinking of the other project.
You're,
Yep.
that's okay. I told Member Umberto all the projects today have 3-digit addresses, so it literally, they're all 3-digit addresses.
So could we repeat that timeline?
Okay, so,
Thank you.
submission of outstanding comments, because if we're gonna set a public hearing, we'll want this architectural stuff for the public to review. So an architectural review submission, we have the renderings, but we need the materials and things like that. We would be assuming lead agency at the March regular meeting, and theoretically
What is
said,
that, the 13th?
well, that's the workshop, hold on, I'll tell you, give me 1 second.
It's gonna be the second meeting.
It's gonna be the 25th, because it's gonna be March 25th. We would assume lead agency, and then assuming the submission was there, we could set the public hearing in March for the April meeting.
At the regular meeting, you would set the public hearing?
Yeah, it would be.
And it would be in
And then
April.
we would have, I would anticipate we'd be at the March work session, we'd go over the traffic study. We'd go over any submission that came in,
Yep,
clean up for the March meeting, regular meeting,
yep,
and
yep.
then
What's the date of the workshop?
the workshop is the 10th. But we'll then have John's comments to know if there's any regulations we need to address with traffic.
Right.
Okay. And for that April public hearing, I'm assuming that we're gonna have a 3D rendering, also with the trees along 17, showing something.
Of the site in the building.
Exactly, otherwise, you know, the people want to see it. Marilyn, are you okay with that?
Yes, yeah.
Because I know that's always your concern.
So, yes,
You like crayon or color pencil?
That's it, you can bring him,
funny.
and we'll show you where the green goes. But again,
So
just,
March workshop is the 10th. We'll make our submission before that for the ARB materials. finalize
Landscaping.
renderings. The land will show the landscaping, the 3D model. So you sent out intent to be lead.
Yes, we have to wait the 30 days.
Yeah, okay. So 30 days, you can assume lead agency.
And if everything is in order, we will set the public, if this conversation bears out, then we will set the public hearing for April. I'm just taking.
Pending the traffic study review.
Yeah.
Yes.
I guess, Dave, one more thing, again, it's associated with flooding, but, Dave, what about the certificate of waterproofing?
Well, they'll have to
When
provide
will,
that.
when will we see that?
We do, that would be a building department.
Building inspector
I know
does.
it's building department, but that has to,
Be conditioned.
Yeah, be conditioned in ours,
Conditional.
yeah.
okay, all right. You good?
To the extent it's physically possible, that's what we're detail. Not a problem.
Perfect. All right.
And I mean, just for open comment, who's our building inspector now?
I think it's still Jim, but he's kind of on comp leave from what I understand, so I'm not really sure who's actually doing the work.
We also have code enforcement officers for Jack and fire inspector, Pace.
Yes, did we send to EMS yet for that? For this project? For their review?
Did you send it as part of 239? Can you?
I think I did.
Okay, if you have not, if you could
Fire.
send fire.
To the fire
police-
department?
Fire, police, yeah,
We didn't hear anything yet? No. Okay.
okay, just so long as it's,
I'll double check, but I'm
Okay.
pretty sure I did.
thank you.
David, I have a question. On the north side of the building where you're going to put the lights, but the condos are right close by, so they're going to be shielded, so
They're night shaded.
night shaded, oh,
On the other plan, we show the photometrics, they don't bleed out onto the other property.
okay,
We kept everything onto this side.
okay, thank you.
Okay. Anything else from anybody? No. We're all good? All right.
Good evening.
You too, Dave.
Mr. Chair, not to step on your toes.
You may be getting paid for nothing.
I think at this point, it's a safe bet they're not coming.
Yeah,
So if
I'd
we
say,
can release Natalie so she can.
If you want to hang out another 15 to make it on the hour, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'll plan on being here for the regular meeting and,
Let's check with the applicant before we have Natalie show up.
Yeah, I thought they'd be here, right?
You know,
You have to drive back to Rockland, right?
again,
Oh, okay, that's not.
they're supposed to be here. Things have
Well,
happened.
you don't have to come to a workshop if they think it's just for decision-making, but I'm thinking there's some things they probably wanted to talk about.
Wanted to talk about.
But I don't know why they're not here.
All right.
So why don't we set a meeting for them?
Thank you, Natalie, sorry.
And this way Natalie doesn't have to make the drive.
It's true.
Why don't we set the meeting with them? Don't invite them to next in 2 weeks.
It's they that, if they want to appear, they can appear. This is, because if you put your stuff in and submit, you're on. They're on. So. You know. All right, see you, Natalie. Yeah, so they get, if you.
I put them on our docket now.
Yeah, but you still, I mean,
They can come to a public hearing and talk about anything, but we're not gonna do anything with it.
no, not at that meeting, for
They
sure.
can do anything.
Right, correct.
Anybody can come here and talk about whatever they want.
Right. No, you put your business up front
Yeah,
that you're
new
gonna do.
business, whatever. But, Natalie had to make the trip.
All right, now we'll go to 123, 125.
No, it's true.
Very well, Mike, how are you? I think, Dave, we'll just start with you.
Sure, okay. Number one, as noted in the bulk table, the following variances are required. Motor vehicle shop within 200 feet of a recreational area, lot size, front yard setback, rear yard setback, increase of non-conforming bulk, storage of vehicles within any required yard, and storage of more than 5 licensed vehicles for a period of more than 48 hours. This comment's been there for months, and I know it's noted on the plan, so. Number two, the plan shows a total of 23 parking spaces required, while only 21 spaces are provided, inclusive of the 2 ADA parking spaces. Planning board previously reviewed the plan and agreed that as proposed, the plan provides adequate parking, given that additional parking is available via a license agreement within the lease area, and that should the license expire or be voided, 2 additional spaces could be arranged on the subject property in the area where the dumpster enclosure is shown. Number 3, the zoning code permits off-street parking to be located on a separate lot within 500 feet of the subject property within an easement. The applicant has provided a parking license agreement. We defer to the planning board's legal counsel for review of the license agreement. The applicant has agreed to provide a meets and bounds description of the license area prior to final approval. Number 4, as noted on the plan, it is proposed to consolidate tax lots 207-1-2 and 207-1-3 into a single lot. Consolidation of the lots by filing in the county clerk's office should be a condition of any approval granted by the planning board. Number 5, the previously proposed 6-foot high vinyl fence along the rear property line has been eliminated from the plan. The applicant advises that a recent site meeting with the county resulted in the county preferring to have the existing fence remain in lieu of the new fence, and that correspondence confirming acceptability by the county was included in the submission. However, the letter appeared to be absent from the documents provided. Number 6, the submitted site plan includes a landscaping plan prepared by Karen Arendt, licensed landscape architect. The proposed landscaping is limited to 14 shrubs and 1 tree in the front of the auto repair shop. Existing trees located between the property and the heritage trail have been shown on sheet 2 of 5. Landscaping is subject to section 200-44J and 200-45J. The planning board should review the adequacy of the proposed landscaping. Number 7, the plan proposes a chain link fence with privacy slats along 3 sides of the leased vehicle parking area, including along Elm Street. The plan proposes the existing chain link without privacy slats along the south side, adjacent to tax lot 207-2-8, to remain. During a prior planning board meeting, it was discussed that the fence along Elm Street would not include privacy slats for security purposes. Applicant to discuss with the board. Number 8, the applicant has provided an expanded Part 3 EAF to address the items reviewed by the planning board and identified in the Part 2 EAF as moderate to large impacts. The planning board should consider the responses and make a determination of significance for SECRA. Number 9, the public hearing for this project, I had put in here, had been scheduled for February 25th, 2025. I believe there was a draft of that notice that was provided, so I don't believe officially it's been scheduled yet.
Right.
Okay.
Yep,
Speak.
yep, if you want to respond to anything Dave just gave.
So, as David noted, that a lot of those have been on the plan for a while.
Right.
Very highly informational and procedural. You know, one of the big things we had talked about at the last meeting, number one, I do have the materials.
Okay.
We'll look at tonight, so just don't forget that. We can do that towards the end. And I think the main item we were talking about was the parking across the street.
Mm-hmm.
And I've revised the language associated with parking across the street. I don't know if the board has taken a look at what I proposed for language there.
What was that, what sheet was that, Mike?
So that's on sheet, if you go to sheet 3 of 6, you zoom into that text right there. So we've now labeled that, I'm going to start with the first bullet, which is actually the last bullet, that says there shall be no storage of vehicles to be worked on in this area. So that was like the main discussion I think that we had at the last meeting. We are looking to utilize that area though for overflow employee parking, which I think we initially looked at that as the main location for employee parking. If you can go back to the existing conditions plan, which is like sheet 2, and then you come down into this corner over here, so scroll up. So this fencing right here is where they keep impounded cars. It's completely fenced in. We wanted to relocate this because it functions in a similar fashion here or there to that parking space. That allows us to get a few more, because this is allowed to be placed over here.
And what's in there now?
It's just, they're impounded cars.
So do you have to fence them in as well across the street?
Well, that's already gonna be fenced in.
Right,
across the
okay,
street.
yeah.
Impounded meaning legally impounded?
Correct, so
So,
Monroe
People
PD,
can't steal.
right, so people can't go get them.
people can't go get it.
Right, okay.
So they're gonna be locked no matter what. So the idea was that if we could transfer these cars here into this area here, it opens up a few more spaces for us to put cars on that we are looking to work on.
You'll be removing that fence.
Correct.
Right, yeah.
Yes, this will actually be removed.
Mhm.
So because there's a fence around the perimeter of it also. Either we'll relocate it if it's not, but I think.
So you're gonna put a fence within the other area that's fenced in?
No. we
So
wouldn't
you won't need to because it's fenced all the way around.
So we would look to do that, so that's one of the other notes that's on there. They also rent cars, they're an automotive repair facility. So he's also seeking to be able to store rental cars in this area. They would just be regular cars, not needing any work on them. So customers come in, need work to be done. It's typical for these kind of facilities to rent vehicles to their customers. He would like to be able to utilize this area for rental car storage. And also anything that would need an insurance appraisal.
So those cars are going out only for those people that have a vehicle in repair.
Repeat that again?
It's not a rental company. It's when someone's vehicle is in for repair, those are the only rentals they're doing.
Correct. These are cars that are, I believe, owned by the actual repair facility. And they will rent them to potential customers while their car is being serviced.
Right. It's not a separate company is what I'm looking
I don't think it is.
Why wasn't this told to us in the beginning? And because in the beginning, oh, no, just employee parking, that's all they said vehemently. It's only employee parking. Now you're putting impounded cars, rental cars, and cars that don't need to be worked on. Are they already worked on and you're storing them for somebody?
I can recap the history, which I think will give you the insight you're looking for.
Okay.
So we had initially did say that we wanted to use across the street, but then Liz had brought up the fact that if there's any issues related to us losing the lease across the street, it would actually compromise the business itself.
Right.
Because we wouldn't have on-site parking that would be sufficient.
Right.
We wouldn't be able to meet our site plan requirements. So we would end up having to suspend the use. So that caused us to go back, sharpen our pencils, and see if we could find spaces that we could allocate on-site, which we did. We came back, discussed with the board, here's on-site parking we can provide. This becomes now an additional feature that I wouldn't say we don't need it, but we don't need it anymore for employee parking. Employee parking on the site, if we lose the lease across the street, it doesn't stop the functionality of the business. We don't lose the use.
Well, except you've removed the fenced area for the.
that you need for the impound.
Whatever we have across the street that we're looking to use, right, we would lose that. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, well, because originally this exercise was a land bank parking on the main side, so that if you ever, could you sneak it in there as a land bank? It wasn't necessarily to open that up for significantly more cars and expand the use. So ultimately, the issue of whether that's permitted is going to go before the zoning board of appeals, because, and I think, as part of that, the zoning board of appeals has to weigh in, because you do have a code provision that says not more than 5 licensed vehicles shall be left outside. You had mentioned vehicles waiting for insurance appraisal purposes. Well, that usually means they're going to be worked on. If they're being appraised, usually means they're being worked on.
Right.
So that's a question. I mean, you have a seeker analysis for your perspective, and this board is in control of the seeker analysis. So that's up to the board.
So,
But ultimately, if this board says, okay, we're comfortable with it, the applicant is assuming the risk that the ZBA agrees with you.
and so, but to finish what I was saying before, as we're continuing to sharpen our pencils to see what's we're looking to maximize the use of the site. I hope everybody can appreciate that. They're in business, and we're just trying to conform to what we're proposing here, to whatever the village code says and what the board's comfortable with.
So Mike, I'm not sure I understood what you're going to do. So how many impound cars fit in that space right now?
I could go back to an older plan.
Like Google Earth, it, see when you're in there.
I don't remember.
Thing you said.
Yeah, that's true.
Right, like Google Earth.
According to my notes.
6-ish, give or take a few. Couldn't tell you for sure.
Liz, can you Google Earth that from your?
Already ahead of you.
Let me see if I can find it.
I might have the old plans here too. Maybe.
Can't see where the fence is. No, it's tough.
Because whatever that is, and you make plans on this side.
About 6 cars.
Okay, so So that's 6 spots that you'd lose if you lose the across the street lot. Well,
Okay, but, we lose the ability to impound cars, that's all we lose. We don't lose anything else. So
Right.
if Monroe PD calls us up and says, we need you to accept this car, we say, sorry, you're gonna have to go someplace else, we can't impound cars at this point. Nothing across the street that we would be proposing for anything would impact, I mean, it would impact the efficiency of the business potentially, but it wouldn't impact the business itself, it would still be able to run.
And what about the rental cars? The business still runs. They just have to rent a car someplace else.
So I mean, what we've done now is we've leased this land across the street that I don't wanna say we don't need it, but we don't need it for employee parking. And now we're just looking to try to utilize it for something that's associated with the business that potentially, and what it does for the applicant is, that's another like 6 cars that can squeeze in to an area that's an area that we've agreed on is a vehicle storage area.
Mike, can I ask a question? You just made a statement that you thought you needed it. If you don't need it, why are we leasing it and keeping it as part of the plan?
Now that we've engaged in the lease, we're trying to utilize it to make the business more efficient.
So you signed the lease, you signed the lease before we said yes?
That's the applicant.
Yeah,
I'm just,
And that's a lot of these applicants.
Yeah.
Okay, and now,
see, my feeling, Mike, on this is like, I'd rather see that just remain open. Because if they don't need it, then you're not putting all kinds of business over there, right? So, you know, and if you're saying they don't really need the impound lot, you can get rid of that at any time.
Well, no, I mean, so.
saying they don't need it.
In other words, it doesn't affect their business.
It's vehicles that they do business with. I mean, they do have an impound area right now, they do business, it's just probably not.
Right, but they're willing, if they lose the property across the street, to give that up.
They would probably reallocate it to the spot again over here.
So that's what I'm saying, so then you would lose what's over there, they would then put it back over here, right? Which would then, what would that do to the current business of the parking,
They would just be able to service fewer vehicles for automotive repair, that's all. They would just have less storage for vehicles for automotive.
they would have to, well,
That's it.
can I ask you about your verbiage? You said you put there that it's not going to be cars that need to be worked on. Are you going to be storing cars that have already been worked on and they're waiting for whatever? I mean, I'm worried about cars collecting over
That's a
there.
good question, I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's a vehicle that has completed its automotive repair.
Right.
And it's waiting for someone to pick it up, I would presume it's okay to put it across the street.
What if they're not coming back for a month to pick it up? Then you're storing vehicles.
but obviously that was not in their mind, because you would know that.
No, that's actually a very good point.
Right, but I'm saying the applicant would have thought,
No, and as we're going through the process, the applicant is thinking of things.
Right. But I'm just trying to keep things from being, cars from going over there and sitting. And that big space just invites that.
There would be no vehicles across the street that would be in immediate need of repair. That's
Yeah, but even if they're in good shape, they're sitting there for months.
okay, so it's employee parking sitting there versus.
No, they get up and they leave every,
No, but my point is, you're gonna have, if it was only employee parking, you'd have cars there.
Right.
With license plates.
Yes.
That would be for the employees.
right,
We're talking about having cars there that have license plates.
right.
That are for insurance purposes, that are for rental cars. They're gonna have plates on them. They're gonna be cars, you wouldn't know the difference if they're employee parking.
so let me ask
But
something.
you would know the difference at 5 o'clock when people go home. That lot is cleared.
Point taken. If it's
But I'm-
Now,
visual screening issue,
let me, Michael, before you even go any further. Monday, January 13th. You stated for the applicant, and he was here, only overflow of employee parking. Okay, now, you say you were back, you sharpened your pencil, okay? You're gonna have on the other side impound cars, at least 6 parking slots. And I'm sure, well, the fence is there. They're going to have to be enclosed, and probably enclosed even within the fence, I would think. Because who can jump over, who can drive through, et cetera, et cetera. Then you have rental cars. You may have 8 to 10 rental cars. Thirdly, you're going to have cars that, to Barbara's point, you're going to have cars sitting there waiting for people to pick them up. And many times, as we see, not only at Freeman's and other places around here, I don't have the money to pay for it. I can't pick up my car now. I'll see you in 2 weeks when I get paid. It's going to be a holding area. And all of a sudden, all these cars, I can see close to 20 cars very easy, just sitting there. Any comments on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's
realistic.
it's a realistic point.
Just a little summary of everything you're going through. It just,
The lot's gonna be full.
you know,
But another question on that, Mike, is, so you said that the insurance cars are gonna be parked across the way,
Cars awaiting insurance appraisal, yes.
which are broken down.
I would
Right.
presume they've got to be drivable, and that's a condition.
Why do they have to be drivable?
We gotta work on that language,
Yeah,
because
I
in
don't-
my mind, waiting.
You're getting towed in.
Appraisals, they've been dinged up, banged up.
It doesn't have to be under your own power.
If they're getting towed in, they're definitely coming to the facility across the street.
Not if they're pounded though.
No, that's separate.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
I'm just talking about the,
But not if there's no park.
so wait,
You want to bring them there, but if that parking lot's full, that cracked up car is going there. It's
It's a specific note on the plan.
so insurance, just a real quick thing, what we're talking about, because I've seen the lot over the years, there's been a lot of
vehicles there.
messed up cars.
Yes.
A lot of messed up cars. So they're definitely, and the cars I saw were definitely towed there because they didn't drive in. The ones I'm thinking, on this side of the lot.
Correct.
Right. So, and this is when there were just, there were 60, 70 cars. So they've got that. So we're saying they may be parked across the street. That's what you're saying.
No.
You're not saying that. The insurance cars are not across the street.
No, insurance appraisal vehicles.
Right. What gets appraised though? Vehicles that are,
Well, I mean, they very well may have damage, but they're not cars that would need to be towed. I don't believe that would be the case. Anything that needs to be towed would need to be brought into the facility across the street, because we have the dimensions for a tow truck to pull into there and drop it off. We don't have the dimensions right now shown, at least the way I have it configured.
I think we're getting into enforcement issues and other questions, and
well, to me, I'm thinking,
because now we've gone from doubling the intensity of the use from
Right.
the original, because my mother has an expression, if you have a space, you're gonna fill it.
yeah, I agree.
The other thing is, my office is right around the corner from Warwick Auto Body. I have watched them drive a car around the street because their garage is in the back. So they literally drive it with half a car missing.
Right.
I've watched them. They've had no hood, no fenders, no nothing, and they're only going around the corner. But
Right.
I've watched them drive it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, so, I don't know, it's not sounding as good as it did.
Yeah, how about just letting them know our concerns and see what they've come up with now, since it's not employed?
Obviously do that. So let me ask this question, is it the insurance appraisal vehicle storage that's what the board is having the most difficulty with? Because
No,
rental cars, employee overflow parking.
But I think we're talking about vehicles leaking fluids, and so if you're gonna pull a vehicle across the street on a tow truck, let's say, or whatever, because I don't know how they're gonna separate that out. And it's jammed up and that tow truck's not waiting. Where can I drop this? Oh, just put it over there for now, we'll take care of it.
So if we placed language on the plan that said that these are drivable vehicles, that these are not vehicles that need to be towed, that these are not vehicles that are leaking fluids, and the other potential conditions that the board's concerned about, I mean, we can be more specific about that, about what is permitted on that side of the street.
I think at this point, because we're now spinning the conversation in circles,
I agree.
I think we have the notice ready to go. Let's hold the public hearing, get that information. That allows us to discuss the projects in a further, you know, as part of the receive the public comment. The county license agreement is still outstanding. So that will, and so the applicant is proceeding at their own risk with that regard, but
Which simply means we keep the meeting open if we don't get that.
So I don't, did you?
We got it, but there's no signature from the county on it.
Agreed.
Okay.
we
There
gotta,
is email correspondence saying that that Newhouse or someone's gonna sign.
no, it said it's gonna go, because it's gotta go to the county legislature. That's not what that email said. They said, we're gonna go through our internal approval process. We'll let you know if Steve signs it.
After it goes through the legislature.
I stand corrected, I didn't read it back.
I don't, I've been working with the county on another real estate deal. It's gotta go through a couple of steps. It just doesn't go on Steve's desk for him to sign.
Yeah.
The applicant is willing to proceed at their own risk, I guess.
Yeah, and if we have that public meeting, say, on the 25th of the month, then we're gonna continue the public meeting.
We'll hold it open.
Yeah, just has to hold it open.
That's not an issue, we can hold it open. Well, let me ask this, is it, if there is public comment, there's a no-brainer to hold it open. If all that's outstanding is correspondence from the county, you still want to be able to hold the public hearing open until we receive correspondence from the county? Because I would imagine the board just can't take an action on the final approval.
No, but we would continue,
Yeah, but
because
it's-
if you don't
it's
get
baked
that,
into- It's baked into our secret. We
Right.
still, because,
yeah,
because if the county, if it
Says
does not
no.
come through.
Right.
And Steve doesn't sign it,
right.
then you're redrawing plans.
Then I would imagine we can just hold it open until we receive that document, and then we'll come back at that time.
Yes.
Yeah, it would just stay open
Yes.
until,
That would be
right.
fine. That would be fine.
Yeah. I don't know if there's a limit on that,
What?
in continuance. Can it go,
That's only a decision.
go to the next year? That's just in
Well,
internal.
it's subject to the consent of the applicant, but essentially, the applicant runs the risk if they don't consent to us saying, okay, well, you didn't consent, we don't have what you need, application denied.
Right,
So, and I don't think Mr. Morganti would like that.
no.
So, that's, if there's a timing issue and waiting
Yeah.
for materials,
Yep,
usually the parties consent, just as a general.
okay, so, I mean, we could do that, we could, at our next meeting, no, actually, we'd have to, did we say we were gonna set the public meeting for the 25th?
It's notice ready to, you just have to say, Terry, send the notice out.
Yeah, it's
ready
gotta
to
go out tomorrow then, right?
Yes.
So,
And I'll bring the insurance vehicle issue back to.
Hmm?
Okay.
and the rental vehicle thing, they're doing that now?
Yes, I believe so, yes.
Perhaps knowing the number of rental vehicles they have, are we talking 2 cars, or are we talking 12 cars? Because that will.
Well, none of that, it's like, I don't know why it didn't come up here before,
I
because,
just honestly don't
Right.
look at it, but there's no one, I think we're thinking through some of this as we're
Yeah.
getting comments from you. We're going back, we're taking a second look at the plans, we're making adjustments, and there's not a lot of room here, so we're trying to be, as efficient as we can with the space.
well, that's what I'm saying, I'm surprised it didn't come up, because because we were talking a lot about, like, employees, and then it's like these 5 cars, or how many are,
To be more specific, the impounded car area, because I think it was one of Dave's comments about me having cars, because I do have them shown going through the fence line, because I didn't even notice the fence myself.
right,
So then it prompted me to ask, what is this for? It's an impounded car. And then that sparked a discussion. Okay, well, can we move this? And can I use this for vehicle storage for cars that need to be worked on? And I thought that was a good question and a good point, and here I am bringing it back to the board. So, I mean, these are, I can't remember every little detail, but that, I can tell you, was kind of what prompted that particular.
no, I understand that one, I was
location
thinking,
of the impounded cars.
yeah, no, I'm thinking more the rental ones, I didn't know they did the impounds, but I get that. So, all right, so, we can send it out for the public meeting.
And these are certainly items we can work through with the board at the public hearing and even future meetings after that. But hopefully I'll bring it back to them, we'll have a discussion, and we'll have more information for the next one.
I did send, circulated comments on the landscape, the buffer easement.
Yeah.
I think that we just want to be clear with that easement, that it's really for, because it talked, and I got the revision, and I think Marcello almost took me a little too literally in his language, and I think he just wanted to get it done, which is fine, but the point is that that's really to be maintained as a landscaping buffer, and not just, oh, let's leave it in our open state. So that was the method in my language. So, because that's the whole point. It also helps block the view as you come down the Heritage Trail. So I modified the language there, and rather than have back and forth, I just modified it and sent it.
I saw that. I'll make sure the applicant looks at that. Those will be items that we'll certainly adjust before we finish anything with this.
It's not just a matter of leaving a space empty.
And you and I discussed it at the last meeting, and I didn't take any exception to it. But, while I speak for the applicant, I can't make decisions.
I think he went super quick, and I could tell, and I want to make sure we get the intent and understanding of that. Okay.
I guess just one more question from me again. And again, just talking to the board before we talk to Michael, but I'm sure he's listening. I still think the impounded area, if it goes to the other side, that still needs to be fenced. Not the simple fence that's there now, in case someone really wants their car. It's got to be a little difficult for them to get it.
What are you gonna put in, lolly columns or something?
I don't care what you put in there, even if it's camouflaged.
So it's a double enclosed fence. It's a fence.
I'm sorry?
It'd be a fence within a fence.
A fence within a fence, yeah, exactly. I mean, it's a separate business. You want to deal with the Monroe Police? Impound my cars in a secured area.
But, I mean, it would be secured. I mean,
What's the fence
what-
that's there now, Mike? The cordoned
Yeah, what
off
is it?
area?
Yeah, it's just a regular.
How high is it? 6 foot chain link?
Is it a slider on the road? Is it just slide to the right or left or something like that, or is it?
How does it open up?
No, if I'm not mistaken, I want to say it swings.
No, the one that across the street.
What do you have there now in the corner?
Oh, that one swings. I think that one swings. That one swings like this. Yeah, like a
But
chain link.
it was all camouflaged, right?
Yeah, I think there's some green.
I think we had the green canvas through it.
I'm showing a swinging
Across the street?
across the street.
Yeah.
Now.
So Mike, you said something earlier, I just wanna, if you put it across the street, and I was asking about, cars being towed in, you said you don't have the turning right now set up for that, but if you're getting impounded cars across the street, they're coming out of a tow truck.
That's what I was saying before that's what I remember said.
So yeah, that's a good point.
Or they would just unload them and drive them in there.
Well, no, if they're impounded, they don't have a
You're not
key.
driving them, they don't drive them.
They don't drive.
They're getting unhooked.
They're getting
Tow
towed.
truck
They're getting
drivers
towed.
move it at all.
Sign that entrance just so.
They're getting towed.
Because What I've got right now is if you
And
go-
someone's got to drive it
I've got
eventually.
the gate
The tow
right-
truck driver? When they
You
drop it
want
off?
you want the pointer?
If the police
There's a
are
pointer here
confiscating
somewhere.
it,
Right.
they're just,
Right now.
Dropping it.
now, it might be
Like right there, there's
somebody's
the
drunk and they're impounding the vehicle.
Right.
There's a key.
So I actually may need
Right.
to move the gate down.
What if
Not
there's
always.
not?
Not
So
always.
the car, a truck.
What if there's a
could come in
booted
and do
car or
it. Could come in and drop it.
Yeah, because that's how they're coming.
Booted, you can't
I'm
drive
gonna
it.
have to redo
or an abandoned car
It's
or
gonna be towed.
A repo or something, yeah, they might not have the keys, right?
Okay. Anything else that anybody has?
I'm good.
Good,
I have
okay.
one, yes.
I think we're good.
So do you guys, I don't know if you take action tonight, do you need to make a motion for the 25th, or we already did that, I forget?
This says we did that.
There's some debate whether we did it. We're gonna have the record reflect that we set the public hearing for the 25th. Because Terry and I had this debate.
Well, if we
And
didn't
so-
do it, I don't want to set the public meeting if it wasn't. if
No,
we
it
didn't
was
do
in there was a motion, and then there was a quasi-discussion, and then there was no motion after, so it was set for the 25th.
That's kind of what I recall.
Is that what you recalled?
I'm like, please, Terry, agree with me.
Oh, really? Okay.
Okay, so,
So Terry has
So
a
it'll-
notice.
it'll be noticed
and the
tomorrow.
addresses.
yeah, super appreciate that.
Okay.
I have 573 next to you. Unless there's anything else off my mind.
Nope, I think that's good. Yeah, 573.
For punishment here.
All right, so Dave, you want to take us away on 573?
Sure. All right, the application is for the construction of a two-story office building. Project site is 50,502 square feet in the general business district. We have the following comments on the plan. Number one, local office businesses are permitted by right. The proposed building meets all bulk requirements. Number two, according to New York State DEC Environmental Resource Mapper, state freshwater wetlands occupy the southern portion of the property. Wetland boundaries shall be determined by a qualified person and mapped along with any 100-foot regulated upland area. Any disturbance activities in the wetland or 100-foot upland area will require a permit from New York State DEC. The applicant is advised that they are in the process of validating the wetland locations with the DEC. Any potential impacts to federal jurisdictional wetlands should also be addressed. Number three, the plan proposes a total land disturbance of 1.2 plus or minus acres. Section 168-12A of the Village Code requires that any land development activity requires a stormwater pollution prevention plan prepared in accordance with the specifications of the code in Article 1 of Chapter 168. Land development activities are defined as defined in the code include development projects which involve the placement of fill that disturbs more than half an acre of total land area. Per section 168-12B2, land development activities disturbing between half acre and 1 acre of land during the course of the project, exclusive of single-family residences and construction activities at agricultural properties, shall include water quality and quantity controls, post-construction stormwater runoff controls, as set forth in 168-12B3, which further requires that the SWIP be prepared by a licensed landscape architect, certified professional or professional engineer, who shall certify that the design of all stormwater management practices meets the requirements in this article and Article 1 of Chapter 168. Latest submission provided by design engineer includes a preliminary layout of a subsurface stormwater collection system. It is emphasized that the design for stormwater will need to provide water quality and runoff reduction per New York State DEC requirements. Number four, the plan appears to show locations of test pits. Results of soil tests should be provided. Of particular concern is the depth to water table, as this may affect the feasibility of subsurface stormwater collection and treatment. Number five, according to FEMA mapping, there are no floodplains shown in the project area. That's informational. Number six, any constrained lands shall be identified on the plans. Number seven, the bulk table on sheet 4 indicates that the net lot area, exclusive of constrained lands, is 26,858 square feet. In accordance with section 200-20.1, the deduction of constrained lands from lot area, avoidance of constrained lands during construction. Constrained lands shall not be used in the calculation of lot area and lot coverage. Accordingly, the proposed lot coverage appears to be approximately 41%, which is greater than the maximum 25% permitted. A variance for lot coverage would be required. Number 8, General Note 1 on Sheet 1 references a field survey by Allstate Mapping and Layout, New Jersey. The survey map provided with the submission was prepared by Ed Gannon, PLS, design engineer to clarify. Number 9, provide a complete site plan in accordance with section 200-72I, including grading, drainage, landscaping, erosion control, construction details, etc. Design engineer has indicated that these items will be provided on future submissions. Number 10, the entrance on the site is shown as being expanded. A permit from New York State DOT is required. It is recommended that the applicant coordinate the proposed driveway entrance with New York State DOT early in the process, as any adjustments in the driveway location will have a significant impact on the location of the proposed building. Number 11, the proposed driveway entrance does not appear to connect with the existing driveway of the property immediately west of the entrance. It is noted that New York State DOT typically requires a minimum distance of 5 feet between where the proposed driveway becomes tangent with the edge of pavement and a projection of the property line perpendicular to the road center line. Driveway entrance may need to be shifted to provide the 5-foot distance. Number 12, the proposed driveway grade coming off of Route 17M appears to be about 10% and is sloped toward Route 17M. It is noted that New York State DOT typically requires a low point to prevent runoff from discharging into the highway. Number 13, plans should be referred to Orange County Department of Planning under GML 239. Number 14, a landscaping plan should be provided and shall meet the requirements of 200-44J and 200-45J. 15, turning movements for fire apparatus should be provided. 16, plans should be referred to emergency services for input. 17, signage for parking and traffic control shall be provided. 18, details for the proposed water and sewer facility should be provided. 19, a 4-inch diameter ductile iron water service is shown on the plan. Is this an extension of an existing water service, or will the existing water service be upgraded? Number 20, application will need to be made to Orange County Environmental Facilities Sewer District Number 1 for the sewer lateral connection. Orange County Environmental Facilities should also be included on the EAF as an agency from which a permit or approval is required. And number 21, a public hearing is required.
So there's a lot that is undone.
Yes.
So what do you want to focus on?
Well, I just got involved with this project. So I figured it wouldn't be a bad idea for, number one, for me to come here, have a chat with the board, you know I'm involved. I did prepare a grading utility plan. Dave made some comments on it. That was really the meat and potatoes what I was looking for to come to the board, is to at least have that looked at, because that's the beginning of like the engineering stuff. I can just go over a few of these items. I know there's a lot of information we still need to provide, but there's a few things in here.
Michael, you just started. Why don't you take it home, bring it back, question and answer format. Dave can look at it. Next meeting, home run.
I'm okay with that. But,
Yeah, sure.
Dave, I included the adjacent area in the net lot area.
So in terms of what's the constrained lands you mean?
Right, yeah, so if I pull that out,
Yeah.
we should be fine.
Okay, so the constrained lands that are
I included the adjacent area. The adjacent area in our code does not need to be included.
the buffer.
The buffer,
So it would just be the wetland.
that's correct.
So Mike, is this did you take this one from Joel?
Well,
I don't mean take it, I mean, are you in and he's out, is what I'm
I
asking.
think both kind of in. I'm the guy who's actually the engineer doing this project.
Gotcha, because Joel's not an engineer.
I don't believe so. Not a licensed one anyways.
It's like the question of the century. I was gonna ask Joel if I saw him tonight.
So, but is that a DEC wetland that butts up to the back of the property?
So
I believe that's what the environmental resource mapping shows that, I think.
So
Spins his wheels.
I haven't confirmed this. This is only what's been related to me. You have the site plan, sir?
Look at that creek that comes
The
off.
actual wetland line is not too far off the banks of the stream. I think I included the adjacent area as well.
In the deduction.
In the deduction.
Okay, and you don't need to do that.
Correct.
But the one thing, and I think we had the comment about just having, the qualified person identify the boundaries of the wetlands. Also, if it is a DEC wetland, I imagine you've heard the DEC change the regulations January 1st of this year, right?
Yep.
So,
We'll need to upload it for consultation.
correct, yes. So there's, just so for the board's knowledge, New York State DEC changed their wetland regulations. Prior to January 1st of this year, if you didn't have a mapped freshwater wetland on or near your property, essentially you did not have a New York State DEC freshwater wetland. What they started in January 1st of this year was that you essentially would need to submit to the DEC a parcel inquiry, and they would advise you whether you have potentially a freshwater wetland on or near your property. And then if so, they would refer you to the regional office, and then you have to coordinate with the regional office to determine the boundaries of any wetland that would be there. So I think based on the mapping, you do need to do the parcel inquiry.
100%.
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
find out.
regardless, we have to get Mike Fratz out here just for a delineation. I mean,
Correct.
To validate.
Right, and then there'd be a 100, presumably if it's a state freshwater wetland, a 100-foot buffer that goes within
We're
that.
pretty confident it is.
Okay.
We'll confirm that with the state, but I think we're just gonna get Mike out. I just gotta get, it's been a while, I think, so I wanna make sure the flags are hung. in the right spot before we get laid down for the validation. Then once it's validated, we'll upload it to the DEC website to make sure there's no other special criteria that we need to take into consideration for this project.
I think Ted gave you a memo too, right?
He did. I responded to his comments as well, which were some overlapping between.
Right.
I think that was about it after that. That was the only thing I wanted to mention to you, Dave.
And you had soils tests also done? I saw.
Those are where I'm thinking about doing.
Okay, yeah, okay.
We're trying to coordinate that getting done, and I agree with you, the water table is going to play a factor in this.
Correct, okay.
One other thing the board should note is that, and we'll have to work this out with DEC, in order to make the stormwater facilities work on the site, I'm going to actually need to discharge my stormwater outflow from my stormwater management system into the stream, which is going to require me to go into that 100-foot buffer. So there's a few hoops we got to jump through with the DEC on this, but I think the board should be made aware of what that consideration is that we're thinking about.
It's the stream behind the property?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
I don't know if Terry's got.
That comes off the
There's a
golf
lot I
course,
can't
right?
find
Monroe
here.
Country Club, probably, that's true.
Portions of the building are.
That probably comes off the Monroe Country Club, that stream that goes
Adjacent?
maybe in the backside there.
It's in the very back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's,
okay,
this is the,
okay, yeah.
what'd you say, the 500, we had this discussion this morning, this is the 500 year?
Yeah, that's the
Yes.
500.
That is the funkiest flood line ever. No, they shimmy.
Correct, yeah.
That's it right there.
But,
That one, 573 New York,
Yeah.
17, that's how I would label it.
We probably should retitle that so we can,
yeah, so I can find it next.
if you could retitle that to site plan, that would be great.
Where do we wanna go?
And I didn't show you the plans yet, but I did do an aerial fire truck turning analysis.
Okay.
So I can get around the site. The entrance might need to be moved.
Where'd you find that?
And DOT, New York State DOT, you're gonna wanna coordinate
We
with
have.
too.
This one?
That's it, yeah.
From the
I couldn't find it.
I couldn't find it either.
So I'm gonna let them handle the entrance. So I've got wheels in motion.
All right, got some work to do.
The stormwater I've got, I really got a handle on.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want me, we're good? I know you guys have a busy agenda.
Yeah, no, I think we're good. I think, I mean, one of the things in talking with Dave, looking at his notes and stuff, was the roadway, the access coming in, and that's gonna have to be completely redone. If there's a 5-foot buffer from the property line, because right now that's starting on the property line, so if you move it over 5 foot, you have to move everything over.
Yep, yeah, we recognize that. So, and we've got traffic engineers on the project. They're gonna coordinate directly with DOT and me, and we'll make sure that this was the initial design that was provided to me.
Yep.
That's just off the previous plan, so I'm trying to navigate my way around it right now, see
Gotcha.
what works and what doesn't work.
All right, good. I think, yep,
What's the overall width and length of that building?
long.
It's
It's like,
to the closer to
like
the road.
7 feet wide and.
it's either 150 or 300, I can't remember.
Yeah.
It's 300.
300,
feet
yeah.
By, you ready for this?
10.
That's like 40 or something?
Advise the applicant, what are you doing?
Like 30, is it 30?
27 feet wide in the
Right.
front.
Oh, my God.
30 feet wide in the back.
I saw you notice that, yeah, it's a little,
So I was like, how are you,
It's the
why,
constraint.
why are we building it like this?
30 by 300.
I can only advise.
I think it's the constrained lands stuff, I believe.
every square foot, Mike, right?
Oh, there's a driveway right there.
Wrong in
Hey,
there.
Dave, what do those lines represent up there?
One here, one here, but there's the neighbor's driveway right
Got
there.
it, or,
I can tell you.
yeah,
So this is the actual 100-year flood.
okay.
location.
And then the
This is
500?
the 500. I
Yeah,
put it
okay.
on just for
Yep, okay.
the hell of it. I can remove it, it's not necessary. This is the actual floodway that's associated.
Yep,
There's map shows too.
So that's what we're looking at there.
Yeah, no,
So-
all right, so if we're
Yeah, no. I
497
was
years
seeing
since the
how
last,
close, if you moved it down,
500-year
how close
flood.
is the next driveway? Because
500-year
DOT is
flood.
gonna care where
Don't
that
put
driveway
back in
is.
the Bible.
Yeah, I mean, and again, like, they have to give them access
years. That was only a 1 year.
But,
the shape
you know,
of the
question.
That was only a 1 year.
Maybe it'll
Yeah.
further.
I mean, but dimensionally speaking, I can get a fire truck around this. I gotta figure out that entrance a little bit better, but I mean, if the stormwater management system works out, this is a project.
Right, right.
And I don't see why it wouldn't, because I'm actually filling the site to begin with.
So did we decide why it went to 20?
Ask me questions.
My,
I can't tell you lies.
my concern, Mike, there was when I looked at the inverts of the pipes that you had, they were about the same elevation as what I think was the 100-year flood elevation.
Yeah,
So
I gotta
the
work
concern
with that.
there is, you know, like you're gonna need to have separation for your detention and then presumably infiltration. If you're putting it underground, so you need to have, I think, 2-foot separation between your infiltration and any high water. So it's gonna be tight.
It's tight. That's why.
Sharpen that pencil.
Oh, no, that's not put it there already. That's it. There's not much I can do.
Right.
The water's there or it's not.
Right, yep.
So that's why, but that's also why I was trying to raise the site up as much as
Mm-hmm.
I can to give myself a little bit of extra room to play with for the stormwater management system.
Yep.
So, proof will be in the pudding. When we pop some holes in the ground, I'll know where we stand.
Yeah. Okay. All right, sounds good.
Have a good night. Thanks for your time.
You too. Thanks, Mike. Have a good one. We are on 581.
This is gonna be mad at you.
Oh, it's not.
Well, no, leave them. Can you leave them? Yeah, this is for the, this is for 573?
1, 2, 3,
1230. Okay.
So those are the two colors that were on.
Okay, so, and this is one that you're gonna use.
Those are the
What we're gonna need is the actual serial numbers, the product, all the product information.
I think we can get that.
Okay. We'll just keep it here for, you guys wanna take a quick look? How you doing?
Hi, good evening, everyone. Hello, as well.
Hope it is with you too.
Yeah, thanks for your help earlier.
Yep.
Pleasure.
So Dave, do you wanna start us off?
Sure.
Look at his name in
Yeah, Avi Weinberg, Limit Engineering. Can I maybe just give a little brief overview of the changes I made before?
Sure.
Because
This is before Dave saw it,
No, he saw it. Dave saw it.
and he's commented on these.
He's commented on
Okay.
this, but I know the planning board had some issues.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Yep, sure.
I guess we'll use this then.
We can pull it up there if it's better for you. She's
Yeah,
pulling it
of
up
course,
now.
you guys seems like
Yeah.
you guys have easier time.
Actually condominiums.
Do you know how to turn on that mic?
Is that, Bill that brings the 10 feet down on the,
Okay, so this project was presented to the board previously. It's approximately 14,500 square foot addition from the office, two-story office building in the rear. There were a couple issues that came up last. We had gone through a couple of iterations. We first needed to get the board to agree on a parking rate calculation, which you guys did in last meeting. So now that we had our lower parking number, we went ahead and really cleaned up the site. A few major things to point out. One of the members of the board was concerned that in the back where this building was going, you didn't have that much parking and that it would be tough to access to go around to the front. So the first thing we did was we reached out to the architect, and they've created, and I have the architectural plans. I don't know if they were circulated, but I will get them circulated. There's a 5-foot corridor now going through this front building to the back. So people in this building can go through this corridor right back, right here, and access the front. Another alternative was to maybe wrap a sidewalk around.
So without going out and
We
around.
didn't want that.
Right.
We spoke to the architect, we're like, let's just create an opening here. I mean, it's a doorway and everything, but
Right.
this gives them straight access to the front.
And it's enclosed?
Enclosed,
Yep.
yeah. It was originally part of the building. They shifted the stores around to create this, that it's an enclosed walkway that they can now get from this
Oh,
rear
okay.
building into the front. So it's a small detail, that's why we put it on the site plan, even though it's typically architectural, but it relates to some of the concerns the board had. Then, once we had this, we were now able to design, I don't know if you guys have all seen, but we now designed for the fire truck turns and for the garbage trucks, we made sure that they could fit. And the big comment that came was creating landscaping. And we really spent a lot of time taking this site, cleaning it up, getting rid of a lot of excess pavement, and providing landscaped areas. We've got some in the rear here, we've got some islands, we made some nice turns for the trucks to get around, as you guys can see in the truck turn plans. I know one of the members, I think you had concerns about last time about having a parking space over here where people would back out into the drive-through. We've closed that off, nice landscaped area here as well. And like I said, I just really wanted to walk through these changes before David could go ahead and present.
No, I appreciate that. I think that's helpful. Yeah.
Just one thing over here, this is the landscaped area here. We've got this parking space here, and obviously since it's parallel parking, you need to pull up in front. So we've created a little opening here, a pavement, that the driver can pull up here and then back in. That's why there's a break
Okay.
in this landscaped area and attached. Just wanted to put that out there.
And that's a dumpster in the top left of the, yeah, straight
Yeah,
in.
there's a dumpster, we've landscaped around it, it has to be 5 feet off the property line per the code. And, yeah, so we got this dumpster, the truck, it's a forward-facing truck to back in, and then continue its circulation.
Right in that same spot. What's that little square with another square on top of it?
Over here.
Nope, lower. Right there.
These are we're gonna remove these. My partner likes to show existing conditions on a plan so you can see what was there before. It gets a little messy. This is actually the previous dumpster.
Okay.
With its enclosure. It's all gonna be removed, the old striping. We're gonna remove that.
Oh, yeah,
next
it does say
edition,
dumpster there.
So you guys can see. Yeah.
Where's the drive-up window on that again?
The drive-up window is right over here.
And right next to it is now going to be landscaped?
Yes, you see
Okay.
all like these dotted lines here, and then there's a landscaping plan that shows some trees. That's one of
Yep.
David's comments about those trees. Also, again, in the front, we've condensed parking to make it, the minimum width required instead of having spaces that are 9 or 10 feet wide. Everything's 9 feet wide. We've added some more landscaping and beautification along the 17M corridor. Yeah, just wanted to put this out there. For you.
Good. Excellent. Thank you. Dave?
Okay. Number one, the table of bulk requirements should be revised to include the minimum and proposed values for net lot area. Based upon information previously provided by the design professional, it is understood that there are no constrained lands within the property and that the net lot area will be equivalent to gross lot area. Even if this is the case, the table should include the net lot area existing and proposed. Number two, a lighting plan has been provided with Isolux diagram and fixture details. The plan indicates that there will be glare across portions of the property line with a note that shields will be used to provide total cutoff at property lines. Number three, plans should be provided to emergency services for review and comment. Number four, the north arrow on the plans appears to be incorrect. Number five, New York State DEC Environmental Resource Mapper indicates that properties adjacent to the project site contain regulated freshwater wetlands. In the response letter to the attorney, the design professional references a study conducted by Ecol Sciences, Inc. on December 19, 2024, determining that there are no wetlands or other regulated water bodies present on the site. A copy of this report should be provided to the planning board for review. Number six, Village Code Section 200-44J requires parking lots to be screened from adjoining properties, and Village Code 200-45J requires 10% of the total parking area to be devoted to landscaping. This was discussed during the 11/26/2024 Planning Board meeting, where the board reached an informal decision to accept the count of 23 parking spaces as per ITE parking generation rate in order to provide room for landscaping. A landscaping plan has been provided which proposes red maple trees and honey locust trees in some locations that may conflict with adjacent buildings due to the mature spread being 40 to 50 feet. In these locations, it is recommended that an alternative shade tree or ornamental tree be used in place of these larger trees. Planning board should review the proposed landscaping for adequacy. Number seven, a new ADA parking space is proposed on the north side of the north building and is proposed to use the access aisle for an existing parking space. However, the access aisle for this parking space is not in compliance with ADA requirements due to the presence of an existing asphalt ramp in the access aisle area. Either the ADA parking space should be moved or the access aisle should be brought into compliance, meaning the asphalt ramp that is in the access aisle should be removed and an ADA compliant curb ramp installed in the sidewalk in front of the access aisle.
Just to clarify, you're talking about this over here?
I believe so, yeah.
Wasn't sure, okay.
Number eight, previously submitted documents included plans for dividing the buildings into individual condominiums. Approval of condominium projects is subject to Chapter 175 of the Village Code, subdivision of land. Planning board should defer to legal counsel regarding requirements for condominium subdivision, including filing with the State Attorney General's Office and condominium association matters. Number nine, SECRA. The previously submitted short environmental assessment form dated March 8th, 2024, which had several questions unanswered. The EAF should be revised as needed and submitted to the planning board. The proposed action is an unlisted action under SECRA. Prior to issuance of any site plan approval, planning board shall make a determination as to the significance and potential impacts resulting from the project. Number 10, the project is subject to architectural review by the planning board. Renderings showing the general appearance of the proposed building addition were previously provided by the applicant. Board should consider the proposed building addition appearance, and applicant shall provide colors and materials of construction. And number 11, a public hearing is required.
Okay.
So this was originally supposed to be office space originally, and now it's
Yes.
condo. Is that-
Well, so a condominium is just a form of ownership versus rental.
You're gonna buy your own parking space.
So you can condo, and actually I used to work for a gentleman that, that was all he did was offering plan work. He would condo as a parking spot. It's just how you define it and who owns it.
Okay.
So that part is an ownership legal issue. That's why Dave referred it to legal. So no, it's not, people say condos, they think it's
Residential, right,
automatically
okay.
residential. It's just a form of ownership.
So you're gonna have
The idea is he's selling off
Right.
ownership of individual office space.
so will it be a homeowners
Yes,
type thing?
yes.
So that's one
An
of our,
HOA?
so that's part of our comment is, so I'll just jump into,
Did you send out a comment letter? Because I don't think I received one.
I did, through Terry. So I'll just run through my comments. And I just want to be clear because I know we got, the first part of this came in as a site plan, and then we got subdivision in isolation. I'm assuming you want to treat these together. So we did not receive any subdivision response to subdivision comments, but I'll just run through the subdivision and then I'll jump to site plan because Dave has already beaten me to most of them. This is going to be a major subdivision as defined by the code. So at this point, we need the sketch plan so that we can adopt a resolution classifying it as a major subdivision, and it will follow the procedure set forth in section 175-6 of the village code. Applicant to address the maintenance and management of common area elements such as parking lot and provide a declaration setting forth the same. Condominiums are subject to the Martin Act. Applicant to obtain required approvals from the New York State Attorney General. Applicant to address whether the proposed conversion to condominiums will address any building alterations not shown on the site plan. So those are my subdivision comments. You're not going to have the same engineering comments that you would normally have on a traditional subdivision application.
Meaning we do not need to go through, we have to prepare an application, we obviously have to prepare a plat. I think where we got stuck was this whole idea, there's no setbacks or anything like that. Is this subject to like traditional subdivision code? How would something like this work?
Well, the setbacks are for the building itself.
Yes.
So I wouldn't imagine that you're not doing setbacks for units because it's a zero lot line.
Right.
So I can't give you necessarily legal advice, but that's the thought process in my head.
We don't have that either, Liz.
I don't have
Your memo.
Well, then maybe I didn't circulate it. Well, I'll send it now. I really didn't attach that one?
No.
Shoot, it was all ready to go. It was all pretty. I'll email it when I'm finished. Okay, one thing that was in our prior comments, the owner needs to update, all the application materials need to reflect the owner's LLC. Most of the application materials reflect not what I have. So please make sure everything reflects BSD Y&U Realty LLC. That's the record owner. And then the appropriate declaration, the appropriate disclosures need to be attached. Seeker, a revised EAF was submitted. Engineer's response to comment indicates no items of historical significant value are located on the project site, but does not provide citation. Given the proximity to various known historically significant sites, referral to SHPO is recommended. No response was received in connection with question 13A.
I have to send you something on that because we do have some stuff from SHPO.
Okay, if you have stuff, we just don't have.
Yeah.
Anytime you cite a
Same thing
study.
with the wetlands letter, I thought we were, that was
Yeah,
a
no.
submission, I will get that to you.
Okay. I'm just going through and not repeating what Dave has already. Renderings to of the addition have been provided. Applicant does not address any architectural changes to the front of the building. Planning board to evaluate. Applicant indicates no alteration to existing site signage. Any approval shall incorporate incorporate sign review for future alterations of signage as a condition. And that's really it for me. So at this point, I think the next submission at a minimum has the plat, so that we can start the sketch, because you're treating it like sketch plan review, because that's how I read the
Bring it
code.
higher, maybe.
Got it.
You can bring it higher.
As far as, I believe, this board declared lead agency previously.
No, because we didn't have a complete EAF.
Okay, so we'll provide that at
Yep.
the next submission. I guess it seems like most of the issues now are just procedural at this point. There are just two things I guess I wanted to touch on. Number one is the lighting. Your engineer wrote it sort of as a matter of fact. Again, the lighting plan, the lighting diagrams show just the way they are. They show that there was, excess lighting, excess glare exceeding the property lines, but with the house shields that we plan on installing, as we put a note in the plan, that will block off glare. Another thing that came up is the landscaping, the types of trees. So we just wanted to know if we could propose flowering dogwoods instead, something like that would be fine.
Probably more suitable, I would say.
Yeah.
I mean, the issue is that the trees, those, it was the red maple and the honey, I forget the other one.
Well, I'm thinking about it really quick.
Too big.
I don't know if anyone's driven by this property at nighttime yet. There is a crazy strobe light. that is
Oh, yeah.
Pulsating
I
light.
see it, yep, I've seen
And I'm
it.
just wondering if maybe you could talk to the owner and figure out what that's all about. It's really distracting.
It is distracting.
For drivers, I think. It's wild. Like if you drive by the radio.
That's right at the pharmacy, isn't
Right,
it?
it's right at the sign out in front.
On 79, and it's just strobe, then I disco. It's a pulsating, like,
Looks
almost
like it's an alarm going off
like a
or
taser,
something.
as if someone was like breaking into your house, they're trying to it's pretty wild. So I think maybe it's either meant to do that, which is pretty wild, or it's just a light gone wrong.
I can't speak for Jim, but I'm almost positive that a strobe light is prohibited by our code anyway, and he just hasn't gotten a notice of violation.
Yeah, no, it's been a few weeks, and
If there's a strobe light going off, it needs to.
it's an aggressive strobe light. So if you could maybe address that with the owner of the property, I think it'd be.
So,
Sorry.
no, that was really, I saw that all the time, I didn't realize till you just said
past
it.
it, I'm like,
Yes.
it's gonna throw somebody off.
We have this platform to address.
Yeah.
Dave, what's that standard of lighting? That,
The dark sky friendly.
dark sky, so does this meet that standard?
Well, I wasn't quite sure because it sounded to me like
They're adding
analysis
shields.
was based on a particular fixture, and the fixture that's showing glare across the property line. I think you're saying you're going to put a shield on there to cut it off as determined in the field.
Yes. I mean, that's
So
what
the
we've
issue,
done.
I think, becomes if the shield doesn't go on, the shield falls off.
Right.
Whatever, the fixture itself.
Should be in the fixture itself.
Yeah, so typically even those fixtures have, recessed, luminaires, which basically limit the throw. And I think you had one fixture on each corner of the building, I think, if I remember. There's like one on each side.
Yeah,
I think, you might see if you can put, instead of one fixture on that side, two fixtures less intensity with a different spread that basically will widen it and just light up.
Talking about the rear of the property?
Yeah, I mean, I seem to remember there being like one on the
Okay,
the
so
south
back.
side, one on the west side, one on the north side.
Yeah, this one.
Yes,
Right, so we've got 1, 2, 3. Right.
right. My suggestion would be to maybe look at using, because the fixtures right now they seem to be pretty intense.
Right.
And casting, a glare across the property.
Right.
If you were to use, say, for instance, two on each side that had less of a
Got it.
throw, less of an intensity, probably be more even lighting without really glaring across the property line.
Yeah, I prefer you do it without the shields, make it the fixtures themselves that do that.
Right.
Right. I mean, essentially, they come shielded
Right.
with recessed fixtures in the shield.
I guess before we get to the procedural stuff, just wondering if anyone else has any issues, on the plan, what the board's thoughts are. I know we put a lot of, effort into all that,
Yeah.
with all the, cleaning up the site, because I know that was a priority to the board. Just wanted to make sure you guys are, happy with the circulation, the landscaping, some of these main issues that we addressed.
Yeah, I think getting those issues tied up, and then I think we gotta put something out to EMS too, because I think they have to look at it, to review it, to make sure. So we could
Well, I
send
know
that.
we reached out to the fire department to get their.
Do you have a memo from them?
I will check with my team, we probably do have something.
Okay.
We did ask them for their, what type of truck.
Great, then we don't have to, if you have it from them already,
I will find, so I will check that and circulate that. Yes, I know, Elizabeth, I guess we're gonna have to be in touch with you about this whole subdivision issue that kind of
Yeah.
does get thorny.
I'm looking at the code. I had originally suggested that it was a, major subdivision, and we might need an interpretation from, our building inspector. The definition of major versus minor, effectively is based on the number of, major subdivision, subdivision of 5 or more lots, or any size subdivision requiring any new street or extension of village facilities. You're not creating a new street, you're not extending village facilities. Lots not defined. A unit's defined, but lots not defined.
But really, I think
So arguably, I might be able to call it a minor, and the reason that's important is because there are many more steps for a major subdivision versus a minor subdivision. On paper, this is it's a legal procedure.
right, but
not
how do
an
you,
environmental procedure.
so how do you get around that if it's,
You get an interpretation from the building inspector.
okay,
So I will email Jim.
what normally happens on things like this, which happen all the time, which is you sort of go through the site plan approval process.
Mm-hmm.
Then afterwards, they file with the AG's office and do what they need to do. I think this sort of opened it up first and then we went ahead and did this first and kind of opened this can of worms here.
right,
So trying to figure that out. Again, as far as our plan goes, it's the same plan. It's
Right.
the same amount of space,
yeah,
individual ownership versus multiple ownership.
Right.
essentially.
So I will double check with Jim in the interim. And then your first step procedurally under your code is to adopt a resolution. We have to declare lead agency once we get the revised EAF. But then procedurally, your role is to make an initial determination on the sketch plan, major or minor. And then once you do that, there's a set of procedures that can be followed in the code. So that's why it's procedurally required that we
Right.
do that.
If I were to get you, first of all, is lead agency something that would have been able, you guys could have voted on tonight, or does that have to
No.
be official?
it has to be in a,
So if I revise the CAF and get it to you by tomorrow. Is that something I could get on the board on the meeting for 2 weeks from now?
yeah, is the EAF,
Because I would at least like to start part of this process at this.
so what are we gonna do with the EAF?
My
Maybe I was missing what
comments-
we were just saying.
My comments on the EAF, I need not that I need it, you said you already have it though, the SHPO letter, and then I need, the question on 13A.
Is that the wetlands?
Yeah, there was
That I have
applicant,
Actually, yeah.
Yeah.
I have a letter for you guys. I thought that was circulated. I
okay,
will get that to you. Because I would at least like to start the public hearing process and all that. If you guys don't really have much comments on the actual design, I'd like to just move that.
Yeah, no, so what are we doing with the EAF? Why is that being,
There were 2 letters. Basically, we needed proof that there's no
it was
historical.
incomplete.
oh, okay, that's what you're saying, right,
So I got a letter to back up.
right,
Yeah.
So once
Okay.
I have that piece, we can declare lead agency and then move from there.
okay,
So I think next meeting, we would declare lead agency. I'll see if I can get an answer out of Jim regarding unit versus lot. And we can make a determination, major versus minor, and then that gives the applicant the direction that they need to follow, which procedure they need to follow.
But if I were to get that information to you by the next day or 2, would I be able to come back to the meeting in 2 weeks for the lead agency?
I have no objection if you don't.
yeah, no, I don't have an objection. Everything's in beside cleaning that one
Yeah.
piece up.
So, we built all the engineering parts. It seems
Right.
like now this is all gonna be legal.
Yeah, no, I don't have a problem with that.
And I will give you that letter also on the EMS, on the fire truck. And David, is it okay if I also just send you directly a light plan once we update it, take a look at it?
I'd probably send it to Terry, and right, Terry, that's fine, he can send it to you. And you'll distribute.
Do we-
Yeah.
Do we need to circulate? I'm just looking at my notes here.
For lead agency?
Yeah.
Well, so presumably there's no wetlands or permitting that's needed, right?
Does New York State so my question is, do we need to do a coordinated review? I'm just double checking here.
I know we were very adamant to keep that entrance to avoid the DOT.
Yeah.
Right, so there's so you're saying no disturbance to the entrance for no permitting with DOT either?
Nothing.
Coordinated with who, Liz?
So I just have, on my notes, and are we doing a coordinated review or it's just us?
Coordinated with who, though?
New York State DOT, but they are not, I'm just going based off my notes. We're eliminating them because they're not altering, assuming they don't alter the curb cut.
Right.
New York State DEC wetlands, we had seen it, they had a yes answer. If they provide us that documentation, that comes off. And then SHPO really isn't an approval agency.
The Attorney General's office?
They wouldn't be for seeker.
That's not a permitting, okay.
I will double check that question.
Well, you're submitting a revised EAF to fill in the blanks that were
Yes.
left, right? So, I mean, we'll know better, I guess, after we get the revised EAF.
I don't, the AG, you've asked an excellent research question, because they're not signing off on the plan. Like, they can't come back with plan comments. I will have to go look
Just
that up.
the offering, is that what they call it?
The offering plan, yeah. I don't think I've ever seen it, though. Even in like HOAs and other, I don't think I've seen it.
Yeah, where they were listed under secret. Yeah, I don't think so either.
I don't think I've ever seen it. So I'm gonna now research it. Thank you very much. I have a research assignment.
In regards to the public hearing, that would be the next meeting? Meaning not this one, that would be, well, I guess now that we have the plat that we have to file also, I guess they go hand in hand.
We need the sketch first, because then we're gonna approve sketch and you're probably gonna turn right back around and.
239, that hasn't gone out yet either, right?
Yeah.
No, it needs
So
lead
we'll authorize-
agency.
We'll authorize 239.
Right.
So you're looking at a public hearing in March.
No, probably
April. At least.
When is the April meeting?
April or May. The regular meeting would be the 25th, I think. Am I wrong on that?
Yeah, March is the 25th.
Now, assuming we'd have all our ducks lined up, would we have to come back to the workshop meeting 2 weeks before, or?
No, you don't have to come to the workshop if everything's.
Better with Passover, that's what happens.
Yeah, no, you wouldn't have to come to it.
22nd. would be our
22nd
Regular meeting.
of April. Of April, right? Yeah. Yeah.
22nd.
Nightmare though, and the landscaping looks great, it's gonna take that flowers, we might plow on the slide, it's a lot of,
He'll just up his price.
Yeah, you paid a lot for that,
Also, a lot of it is just medians that you honestly probably would have seen typically in any site.
yeah, no, I'm just saying, like, it looks great on our end,
We
but
made sure to get the radii, because we always.
the
like
guy
to-
plowing is being like, Jesus, they got a thing here, they got a thing there, they got a thing there, they got an island over here, I mean, right, I mean, I would be.
I think we always pride ourselves also when we do these plans, and my partner's been doing this for 35 years, is everything, like when a site like this is so flat, and most of it we're not regrading.
Right.
We have to regrading, we want it wherever we set a place where he's gonna plow the snow.
Right.
The catch basin right there, it slopes towards it, water just comes in and melts, we don't like sheeting, we try and eliminate all that stuff.
Yeah.
People don't usually pay attention to that, but it's a small detail, you bring up the snow and the plowing, we always try to get rid of it. Again, in this, it's just creating the medians. But
Your estimate based on turns and objects.
Yeah, well, you could just imagine, right, because, you want to go back for it, now you gotta go around this one, or on that one, or on this light, that light,
It'll make them hungry and thirsty. They'll want to come to
Yeah,
the captain's table.
Okay.
Okay, I think, are you good? Bob, everything's
so I'll
good?
try and get you that information. So
Okay.
we can come back in 2
Yeah,
weeks.
perfect.
That's the next one, 3
Next one is 3 to 6. Are you here for that one?
I am here for that one. It's a similar situation as that other engineer. We were just retained by Joel Mann.
Lucky you.
All right.
So, well, basically, there's nothing, I'll just ask this. Why are you here?
Because he said we needed to submit something for this meeting. So I figured I'd just introduce myself and say, here I am. We're now taking charge of this project.
So what they submitted was a nothing burger. There was nothing there. So then they submitted late for this one, which means it can't be heard until March,
Right.
right? So,
Got a lot of work to do. The one thing I did want to ask you guys on, the site is mostly a gravel area. I do know your requirements are
I can stop more quick, I'm sorry. They're texting her about not being able to hear.
Yeah.
Do this, so I just want to see. Testing. Testing.
Here, just give him this one, because apparently this one picks up everything.
Paul, is that plugged in there, Paul? Is it,
Yeah, no,
is it in right? So pull it out and put it back in, just,
It's on, right?
is the mic-
Testing.
hit it.
Yeah.
Sounds like
I
it's,
heard it, yeah.
we're hearing
Just
it.
soft spoken.
Yeah, but that should be picking him up. He's not whispering.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever been accused of being soft-spoken.
Now I can hear it echo.
There we go. Better?
Yeah.
The one question I did want to ask you guys, most of the site is a gravel area. That being paved over, does that count towards disturbance?
Because if you look, the whole issue with this site is that it was cleared without a permit. So unfortunately for you, you're gonna have to go back in time a little bit. And if you look at, and I'm gonna try to pull it up now, if you look at the Orange County GIS, there's a fair amount, so all that, right, Dave, all that.
Yeah, we looked at the image, I think, at the last meeting. It was from, I forget, a couple of years ago. It looked like there was
22 and 20.
quite a bit of additional disturbance, clearing.
Got it.
You mean,
Also, in regards to emergency vehicles, obviously, one of the comments were, right, we have to design to make sure that the apparatus could go all around. Right, okay. Which means we're gonna have to, I think, upgrade that.
Jeff,
You
question.
do have our prior comments?
Yeah, I do have that, I just.
Because people are listening.
I want to show you on the map, like, what we saw, which is what is going to be at issue, lucky you. So, and I made the prior applicant, or actually made Mr. Morganti, who covered for Mr. Mann, last meeting. I showed him.
Is that the person that was here?
Yeah,
He covered for.
Joel.
I believe Joel had a family situation.
so you're taking it over from Joel?
As far as I know, it's our, it's our project, yes.
I'm in the wrong spot. Hold on.
So Liz, while you're looking it up, Joe wanted to say something.
Has all the violations been paid and satisfied by the courts?
I have no idea.
So.
You know, so my
they can't
point,
be.
They can't be until they come,
This is part of the
this is part of that
resolution
process to get them resolution at court. So it's like the
I know
catch-22.
there's something here, I'm slowly getting up to speed. I'm trying to extract information from them.
Well, you're still smiling, so you're not up to speed yet.
Listen, I'm getting paid hours.
So I can advise, and I'm not on that court case anymore, and I'm trying to do two things at once. There we go. Why isn't it showing? Where am I going? Layers. There
Yeah,
we
so just, you should get the violation history too, because that'll be very helpful.
Like I said, stuff has slowly been trickling into my office, so.
So a notice of violation was issued against the property owner. Some of that was for work without a permit. Some of that was other ongoing things not related to this site plan. The applicant in the court case, they have indicated a desire to come before the planning board as part of the resolution. Now, if you grant approval, I'm not the prosecutor. it would be up to the prosecutor, and I'm sure there's going to be a fine of some iteration, whether this goes through or not. This is a mitigating impact, you know, if they get approval, that mitigates the large, what it could be. So the court case is ongoing, so they can't resolve it but they're gonna have to do some heavy homework. I appreciate you were probably told I need to get something in because I've got the judge breathing down my neck. Your client should just be aware that if it's gonna take you 2 weeks to do something, I'd rather say it's gonna take 2 weeks to do something and get a full package than get a
Right.
letter that says, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming.
Yeah.
Because that's just gonna,
Yeah, the violation has been egregious, so,
I appreciate you guys telling me this, so now
Yeah.
I know I have to go back to them.
So I
and
just-
talk to you.
Yeah.
Because I think also if they're expecting me to come to you, this board in a month from now. the full
yeah.
set of plans,
You're the third one in 3 months,
I
third
appreciate it.
professional.
Avi, so this is the current, this is 22.
Yeah.
And I think you should have said the most professional at least.
So all of that.
You
is
know,
great.
the thing is,
After you go back?
there's a lot of public sentiment on what they did there. A lot of people are so fed up, they said,
Right.
you should have them put
So
trees
there
back.
was a lot of, and.
Have them
it's
put trees
over half an
back.
acre.
And then
Yeah, we,
Yeah.
come to the
Yeah,
planning
See what's
board
going on.
Yeah.
and do it properly.
That's why he's
Yeah.
in court, is
They
because
take
of
trees down like,
that.
I just do want to point out, I guess obviously hearing all this, I made a conscious decision before we took this on. I haven't gotten approved for this other project yet, but I felt, that this board is being very considerate and it's, so far been a very smooth process. I do not want to jeopardize that. I have a reputation to maintain, so I will make sure that we keep up with that and address these comments.
Yeah, I think, you'll be much more difficult, it'll be much more difficult for you following up with the other side than here with the applicant. So, because it's not been, I don't think we've ever met the applicant at this, maybe once, maybe the very first time.
Right.
But,
I think you would be, and again, I can't give you legal advice, but your client would be better served to give appropriate updates. We've retained an engineer on such and such date. The engineer tells us we need 3 weeks to get whatever work.
yeah, we're in the dark.
Well, I mean, these are real set of plans, as you know, David. This is not going to take 2 weeks.
But no, I'm throwing a number out there to say,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
understand, but I appreciate you guys telling me this, and now I can go back to them and say, all right, this is where we're
Yeah,
at.
and when there were stop work orders, there were violations,
Right,
so
right.
take a good look.
I appreciate your help on this one.
and one of the things you should take back, as we were just discussing on the side, there's a lot of public sentiment against that piece of property, what they've done. Okay, you got to take that into consideration because a lot of people have come to me and said,
Right.
because I was on the village board and now I'm on this board and half a dozen other boards. But bottom line is, have them plant all the trees back, start it over, and then come to the
At
planning
the same
board.
size.
Oh, yeah. I mean, those are some of the comments you get, but there's nothing wrong with those comments.
No, people are upset. They should be.
They don't want to see that.
I get it.
This town is being ravaged.
Yep. Well, not gonna solve that here, I can tell you that.
So
Not
it
tonight.
sounds like you have some homework to do.
Yeah, perfect.
So we appreciate that it's
I will
not,
give you those 2 letters, and they'll revise the, that's the first thing I want to get that out of.
yeah, for the other part, yeah,
Yep.
yeah, that's fine.
Have you ever seen what it looked like
Yeah, he just looked.
before?
Yeah.
Right, you looked at, okay.
Yeah, they just show, yeah,
Yeah.
I understand. and
Trees.
I will relay the sentiment of the board to the client, and they should know what they're getting into.
That was, in its day, that was a beautiful old building back there. Absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah. All right,
I'll relay that.
all right, is that it?
Right,
Robbie?
Marilyn?
Great, okay. Good to see you again.
Same here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
All right, so, I don't think can't make any, just need a motion to close.
You got it. Motion to close, please.
Motion adjourned in a second.
Wasn't there another person?
second.
Another one? I'm okay. No,
Did you catch the motion to adjourn?
no.
And the second?
Who was it?
I think it was Barb,
I second.
and then Paul.
That's who was it?
Right, made it easy for you.
And then we'll vote.
Do you want me to turn the master off or leave it on?
I don't know.